you can see right here, we've got the exact heading that I requested here, mentioning real reviews from real customers on Google. And this is a carousel. That's kind of the actual official UI terminology. Hey everyone, Cody here again with 5 to 9 Suite. Today I'm going to be talking about integrating Google review data into the landing page of my auto transport brokerage company. So what I want to do is at the bottom of my landing page, I'm envisioning having Google reviews here that kind of scroll through to show the most recent reviews about my company. Now, I don't know anything about doing this, so where I started was actually using Google in AI mode to learn about the art of the possible. So what I asked at first was, is it possible to integrate Google reviews into my website hosted on Firebase? Yes, it's entirely possible, and it pointed me to Google Places API. I then asked, because I don't have a Google review or a Google business account set up for my company, how I can set that up. So it walked me through how to create my Google business profile. So I went ahead and followed the instructions to do that. And then once I set that up, Google indicated to me that it was pending verification. So I was like, oh crap, I don't know, am I able to actually still hook into the Google reviews and do this before I get verified? And it informed me that yes, for the Google Places API, which is more of the public facing API, it can do that, which is actually exactly what I want, because this is what gives me the 5 most recent relevant reviews. Later on, it looks like I can use the Google Business Profile API, which gives you a lot more comprehensive view of all of the data. But I am totally fine with just the 5 most recent relevant reviews for now. So I moved forward with that. And then I kind of just had it give me a little bit of an overview of how I might be able to use the Google Places API to fetch the most 5 recent reviews. I also asked if there was a way to embed a Google review form into my website, and it indicated to me that that part was not possible. So now I have a little bit of an idea of kind of the art of the possible, and this is kind of my research prior to starting this so that I know how to build an intelligent prompt for Claude Code, which takes me directly to Claude Code, where I have a prompt ready to go. So it can kind of walk me through getting this set up. So let's go through the prompt that I put together for getting Google reviews integrated into my landing page. I said, I'd like to integrate Google review data into the landing page. I want this to be at the bottom of the page with a catchy header that is something like, what are people saying about P1 Auto Logistics? So I'm kind of telling it right off the bat what I want it to look and feel like. It should use the public Google Places API, because now I know that that is a thing. I had no idea. I'm telling it API keys should be stored as secrets in Google Secret Manager, not exposed in the client-side code. If that's gibberish to you, go back and watch my video on using Firebase hosting and learning a little bit about securing your website. I have a decent explanation on what I'm talking about here. Otherwise, just take it for what it is and make sure you have something like that in your prompt. And then I'm saying it should use a Firebase function to make the API call. Again, if that's gibberish, go back and watch my video on Firebase hosting. And then I'm also telling it, because I'm a little bit ignorant here, walk me through what information I need to provide you and how I can provide that information. I imagine I'm going to need some sort of an API key to kind of tell it that, hey, I'm making this API request with this key. This key is associated to my account, so it knows who is making that request and, if applicable, where to charge for making that request. Which, by the way, I also looked that the API for this is free of cost up to 1,000 queries per month. So I'm not expecting any issues there with charging. So again, I'm kind of asking it to walk me through the information that I need to provide. I'm letting it know I already have a Google business account created and it's pending verification, but from my research that the API is still usable. My research shows, the 5 most recent reviews are retrievable. And then I'm kind of getting back to like what I want it to look and feel like. So I want the landing page to show 3 reviews at a time, but then kind of horizontally scroll across all 5. For example, you would show 3 for 5 seconds and then scroll 1 to the left to get the next review, and then that should just kind of wrap around. And then let's see, I'm also kind of getting into details on like when I want it to query this information, because I don't want it to query, for example, like anytime someone enters, data into the form, or I don't want it to query anytime someone spams the refresh button, because that's eating up my query count for my monthly quota. So I'm telling it here the API call should basically happen when the web page loads, but ideally this is cached and does not requery anytime someone refreshes the page. So again, I don't know kind of the nitty-gritty details of how that should be implemented per se, nor do I feel like I need to walk it through that. I'm kind of relying on Claude Code to do that. I'm just making it aware that it needs to think about that before it actually does anything. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to put effort in high mode again, just because I feel like I get better results. So yeah, what we're going to do is go ahead and send off this query and see what Claude Code gives us. All right, so Claude Code told me how to acquire my API key. It told me to go to console.cloud.google.com, go to my project, how to enable the service, create the API key, and then it also told me how to acquire the place ID. One thing I ran into was because my Google business account is still pending verification, the place ID was a little bit challenging to search. I actually just looked up the address on Google Maps to get the place ID. It was not available, at least that I could see, on this place ID finder, which seems to be the recommended approach to finding your place ID. Once I provided that information, you can see right here, which, by the way, you don't ever want to share your API keys. I go and change my API key before I make this video public, so these are going to be invalid by the time you see this video. But just a reminder that API keys are sensitive information. That's why we're using Google Secret Manager to store those so other people don't have them. There's also a lot of cool features within Google's kind of console service here for restricting access to your API keys in the event that it does get leaked somehow. You can restrict it to your particular website, or you can set it up for specific services only, such as the Places API. So anyways, it went off and it essentially created everything we needed per the prompt that I gave it. Eventually it got to the point where I was ready to test. So I started up the Firebase emulators and I ran the Next.js development server. And the first thing I noticed that I wasn't actually seeing anything on the website, and it indicated to me that that's likely because the API call was failing or there were no reviews yet. Turned out the API call was failing because I had accidentally not enabled the right service in my Google console. So once I got that addressed, it eventually gave me a different error. It then walked me through having to actually rebuild the Firebase functions locally, because I'm testing this all locally before deploying it out to production. And then I was getting another error, and again it walked me through kind of debugging it, which was all done through the developer tools, right? Again, so if you're on your website and you press F12, that brings up your developer tools, and I was just going to this console tab here, and I could see every time it made that API request call, I would get the errors in here, and I would just copy them and paste them into Claude Code. And again, it was able to kind of walk me through all of the different errors that I was getting there. And then eventually I was able to get a successful response with just an empty list of reviews. So I asked it, can I just update the place ID to a different business for now to at least see what it would look like if I were to have reviews for my Google business? And it said yes, I could do that. So I love Outback Steakhouse, so I went and found Australia's Outback Steakhouse in Glenwood, and that's what I updated the place ID to. And you can see right here we've got the exact heading that I requested here, mentioning real reviews from real customers on Google. And this is a carousel. That's kind of the actual official UI terminology for this type of interface. So just something to keep in mind in the future when I want to build something like this. I can refer to it as a carousel rather than have to kind of explain like, okay, you're going to see 3 reviews at a time and it's going to scroll to the left and then you're going to see another review. You can just call it a carousel. So it looks like everything is working, which is super awesome. This was very quick to set up with Claude Code. Another thing I had noticed with the current implementation, again, through the developer tools, was I was getting all of these warnings about tracking prevention blocked. So I pasted all of this, just copy and paste directly out of the console here into Claude Code, and it told me that those are harmless browser warnings, and it's related to Edge's tracking prevention. So I'm not too worried about that. So now what do I do? Since I don't have any reviews yet, I'm kind of thinking through like, okay, well, what do I want this to look like if I don't have any reviews? So I'm going to tell Claude in the event there are no reviews, put placeholder text on the landing page that says something along the lines of there are no reviews yet. And then I want to, direct people to Google reviews so that they can actually leave a review for me. So I'm just going to say, be the first to leave a review at, and then I'll put just kind of a placeholder here for the URL. And honestly, I don't even actually know if this is going to be possible yet because I don't have a verified Google account yet. So we'll see what this does. And worst case scenario, I'll have it just kind of make up some mock reviews for me until I have some actual business reviews. All right, it looks like it's telling me I need to point the place ID back to my original because, yeah, it's still an Outback Steakhouse. So I'm just going to ask it to update the place ID to the original place ID because I'm lazy. All right, so we're going to restart the emulator. And it looks like we're good there. Get rid of that, and then we'll refresh the page again. And just like that, you can see it put a button here, and let's see where this actually takes me. And perfect, it takes me right to my business address. All right, great. So it looks like we are in good shape. And yeah, thanks for watching, and happy building.